In today's show, it's a mailbag episode answering questions about a contract extension for Nassir Little, whether Jabari Walker is ready to contribute immediately as a rookie, and the ugliest jersey in Trail Blazers history. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this podcast your first listen every single day. Start your day every single weekday by listening to Locked On Blazers and tell your friends to do the same. In today's episode, it's a mailbag episode. We're going to answer listener-submitted questions all episode long. If you want to get involved in a future mailbag, the best way to do it is to email me, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. That's lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I typically will send out a tweet soliciting questions. I didn't do it for today's episode because I did it last week and I got a whole boatload. So we're just using the some that are a little bit old, but it's the middle of the offseason. Nothing is old yet. But if you want to be involved in a future one, we do these pretty much every single week. And when the regular season rolls around, it's not the deep off season. We will do a mailbag every single week. So lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. It's a place to go if you want to get involved. Without further ado, let's get to the questions. This first one comes from Chris Wright at Chris the0 on Twitter, who asks, considering what Anthony Simons just got paid, and considering what Nazir Little has produced thus far, is it time that the Blazers extend Nazir Little, offer him a rookie contract extension? First, the rules. Thank you, Chris, for the question. First, the rules. First round picks coming off entering their fourth year in the league are eligible to sign contract extensions up until basically the start of the season. The deadline is sometimes like a day before, a couple days before the season starts, but up until the start of the season. And then if you don't reach a contract extension or don't reach an agreement to extend the contract, the rookies will enter a restricted free agency in the summer. I mean, conceivably unrestricted free agency, but restricted free agency of first round picks. So basically the Blazers and Nazir Little and Nazir Little's people have to decide whether they want to reach a contract extension here in the next couple months before the season starts. I think the basic answer to this is the team should try to do it. The team should absolutely try to do it because there's a variety of incentives for the team, like for the franchise. Probably not for the player, but for the team. One, Nas has had injury history pretty much his whole career. He's just missed time for various weird ailments. He had dehydration in the bubble. He missed part of the season with really severe COVID, and then early in his career he missed time with an ankle injury. He's had a shoulder injury now with the torn labrum. Then this last season, he has just had little things, little nicks and dings here and there that have caused him to miss time. He has had a variety of ailments, and because he's had a variety of ailments, and because he was kind of buried a little bit on the depth chart, and then having trouble being there when he would have been counted on, then he was hurt, and there's all these things. He's kind of had fits and starts when he's played. He looked really good last year, and he was starting to really put it together. The final 15 games before he got hurt, he was like, okay, this is a dude who can really play. This guy looks like he's for sure a good NBA player, and maybe even a solid NBA starter in year 4. He looks really good. He had a 20-point game and then tears his labrum battling for a rebound with Karl-Anthony Towns, and his season ends. He also had additional abdominal surgery this offseason. He's had some stuff. And so for the Blazers, because he doesn't have a long track record of availability, long track record of availability and a long track record of high-level production, he's had tantalizing moments. This is when you offer someone a little bit of money. This is when you try to say, hey, Nas, how does 4 for 40 sound? $10 million a year. You want to make $40 million bucks. This is that's already life-changing money, but it's not super duper crazy money. yeah, you try to lock him into to a deal that would, quite frankly, hopefully underpay him. That's kind of like the point of running a basketball team, is locking guys into contracts that they will immediately outperform. That it's like the trick to building a really good basketball team. The other incentive is that the salary cap is going to rise. John Hollinger of The Athletic wrote a story today in The Athletic on Tuesday, July 26th. He wrote this story, in case you're looking for it. Listen to this in the future. But in July 26th, John Hollinger wrote a story in The Athletic about how the cap is expected to rise 50 or even 60% over the next half decade. I have read reports from various places that suggest that by the start of the 2025-2026 season, the salary cap could be as high as $170 million. Right now, it's a little bit over $23.5 million. That's a fat increase in a few years. So if you can lock someone into a contract extension that would kick in the summer of 20 or the 23-24 season, and then by the end of that, a 4-year deal, the last 2 years of which the salary cap jumps up to $170 million bucks, you're talking about like below the mid-level exception type money at $10 million a year. That's real incentive for the teams to go ahead and do it. And if Naz's people push up, like conceivably like 4 for 60 is like a totally reasonable deal. In fact, under certain climates, paying someone like Nassir Little $20 million a year, if it's a $170 million cap, will just be the going rate for someone who starts in the league. That's where we're heading. Max contract's going to be over $70 million then. It's going to be wild. Really good if you're a certain point guard who just signed a max contract extension that's 35% of a rising salary cap. Go and get that money, little duffel bag boy. From Nazir Little's side, no, I don't think it makes sense to sign a contract now for all of the reasons that it makes sense on the team side. He has a chance to play a big minute role this year and be really good. He has a chance to, in addition, he has a chance to show that he can be healthy for a full season in that big minute role, playing the best basketball of his career, and then enter free agency with a chance, for the Blazers, he'll be a restricted free agent to come back to Portland for a chance to just like return and be there to make that money to stay with the team and all of those things. Like, it is only if Naz thinks that there is a health risk would it make sense for his side to agree to it. There is a certain amount of money that he would go ahead and agree to if the Blazers are kind of like eyeing that salary cap increase and saying like, well, what if you offered 4 for 75 for a guy who just hasn't proved it yet, but like we think by the end of this contract this is super duper cheap because he's going to be good. I think there's a number that Naz's people agree to. Traditionally, the Blazers have not signed guys to rookie extensions. I do not think it'll happen. I think it's a pretty safe bet that it will not happen. Since Damian Lillard was drafted, they have signed 2 guys to rookie extensions, Dame and CJ McCollum. Ant didn't get it because Ant was able to play himself into more money. I think it's kind of the same logic with Nassir Little, quite frankly. So, yes, the team should, and no, Naz shouldn't, so I don't think it will happen. But it doesn't mean that Naz doesn't have a future here. It just means that his future with the Blazers will be determined this time next year, next summer. Let's come back in the second segment and answer more questions. How about a question about Jabari Walker and whether he can be the key to what the Blazers need in his first season in the league? But first, let me tell you about BetOnline. It's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action, whatever it is. You want to bet on the next place Kevin Durant will play? You can do that. You want to bet on the next team Russell Westbrook will be on? You can do that. You don't want to bet on the NBA offseason? You can bet on MLB action. You can bet on North American soccer leagues. You can bet on soccer. You can bet on tennis. You can bet on golf. You can bet on combat sports. Whatever it is, you're going to find it on BetOnline. That's betonline.net, where the game starts. All right, let's keep it rolling on this glorious special delivery mailbag edition. And a reminder one more time, if you want to be involved in a future mailbag episode, the best place to send your questions is lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. That's the email address. Hit me up if you got cues. All right, this next question comes from Alex, who sent a question to that very email address and asked, is Jabari Walker, in so many words, this is a longer email than this, but in so many words, and paraphrasing Alex's question here, is Jabari Walker the answer to the Blazers' small ball needs and lack of larger forward depth? Maybe. I think this is a question that is frankly unknowable, right? But there's intrigue behind it, and I think like my short answer is no. Right? If we had like 40 questions in this mailbag, no. Keep moving. No, probably not. He's 19. Got a long way to go. I think that's like the short answer, right? Is that like most teenagers aren't good in the league. The Blazers want to be good. It's just typically veterans are better than rookies. It is like kind of easy math that dudes who have experience in the league are better than dudes that don't. It doesn't mean that rookies aren't good. It doesn't mean that every year there's not a breakout rookie. It doesn't mean that we didn't just see Herbert Jones in New Orleans come in as a rookie who was highly productive in college, was SEC Defensive Player of the Year, come in and from that experience being a very productive college basketball player and to become immediately a high-level defender in the league. It's not like it never happens. It happened a few months ago. I watched it. Herb Jones is an absolute joy. He's a ton of fun. Like, he's a really, really fun basketball player. Is Jabari Walker Herb Jones? I mean, I don't know. That's like the true honest answer. But here's what we do know about Jabari Walker. In college, he was a Pac-12 leading rebounder as a sophomore. And he was one of the most, his like advanced rebounding numbers suggest that he was a monster on the glass. Even when he played a smaller minute role as a freshman, his rebound numbers were really impressive. When he got a bigger role as a sophomore, they scaled up with him. His like just rebounding efficiency, his rebound numbers didn't change. He just played more minutes, so he grabbed more boards. Then, when we saw Jabari Walker play in Summer League, he was basically the best rebounder in Summer League. He had one of the highest rebounding percentages of any rookie who played. There were some other guys, but he had the highest rebound percentage of draftees. Like, he was an absolute monster on the glass. He's got a great nose for it. When I interviewed his coach, Tad Boyle, the Colorado coaches, I asked him kind of what's going to make Jabari special in the league. Why is he going to be a good pro? And Coach Boyle said, like, it's his nose for the ball. He's just a natural rebounder who knows how to go get the ball. We saw it a handful of times in Vegas. Like, dude can rebound at a high level on both ends. He can rebound in traffic. He's 6'7". He probably plays a little bigger than 6'7", or definitely plays bigger than 6'7" on the glass. But he understands angles. He's got strong hands. Like, he can go to the glass and make it happen. He's got some defensive chops. He seems like he's going to be an okay standstill shooter. All of these things, if they were to play out, is kind of exactly what the Blazers would need. They need shooting and spacing from their forward spots. I don't think they're like a bad shooting team, but they don't have a Ben McLemore on the bench. They don't have like a lights out shooter on the bench. I'm not saying Jabari is that, but like, you could always use more shooting in the league and the other options that play those spots. Trent Watford's not a shooter. Walker looks like he might be. So that's intriguing. Walker has some passing chops. Like, it's just obvious, natural. He's not like this super special advanced passer, but he clearly understands reads, like, and he can handle the ball a little bit. I think his handle's probably not ready for the pros, and I think his shot is a little slow for being a high-level contributor, but like, the idea of Jabari Walker is close to perfect, right? Like, it's close to perfect. He can rebound. He's the right size. He's got some defensive versatility. He can shoot. He can pass. He's got a little bit of off the dribble juice. Like, that's it. But I remain skeptical of rookies being high-level contributors. Like, I'm just being totally real here on this one. I remain skeptical of rookies being high-level contributors. I mean, I'm rooting for him. Let me keep it real. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him in part because I really enjoyed watching him, and he's easy to root for, right? Like, I want him to be there. But I remain skeptical, and I remain skeptical because of always what I say in this podcast is that typically rookies are bad. So here's what I actually think about Jabari Walker. Should he play? Could he be the answer? No. But let's get him some minutes early on. Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5, Game 8, Game 12. Get him real minutes. Get him like a full shift, like 9 minutes in the first half. Get him 9 minutes to see what he can do. He's not one of those rookies that, like, he is not so raw like a Greg Brown or like the way Keon looked early last year. It's like where it's like Keon Johnson, that is where it's like, yeah, like let's sharpen their skills a little bit and see what they can do. I think Jabari has an intriguing enough skill set that I want him on the court early on. But what you're really talking about here is, does Jabari Walker deserve to play over Justice Winslow? That's the decision you're making. So I want to find that out. I want to find that out early in the season. Like, get him on the court, see what he can do, get him real shifts, not just garbage time, mop up minutes to see what he can do. Like, get him a real shift in one of the first 5 games and see if he deserves more from theirs, like sink or swim. Obviously, really small sample size. Obviously, like some of it will just depend on shot making, etc. But like, yeah, I want to see Jabari early in the season get a real chance, and then if he looks like he deserves it, I want them to go from there and get him real minutes. Like I think that's the simplest way that I can say it. No, I don't think he can be the contributor. No, I don't think he's the answer. Yes, at least to begin with, I trust Justice Winslow to be a better, more competent player at that sort of backup forward spot. But Jabari Walker deserves a little cameo early on in the season to figure out what you got. And quite frankly, if he's not ready, he's a second-round pick. It's okay. You want him to be good in the future. You want him to be part of, he signed a 3-year contract, non-guaranteed the last couple of years, but you want him to play 3 years on this team and then sign him up for more. Like, you want him to be part of the plan. So if he's not ready to go in like I don't think he will be in October, November, it's fine. And if he's not ready to go in March as the season draws an end, it's fine too. But let's see it early on and figure out what you got, because he has this, if he is there, he has this intriguing skill set where it's like, yeah, yes, if it all clicks, that is what the Blazers need. Like, that's what they need. That's the guy, that's the position, that's the size, that's the skill set that the Blazers absolutely need, because that's it's kind of what the back half of the roster is missing. So give him a shot, see what you got. I got another fun question to close the show. We're going to talk jerseys and the ugliest Blazers jersey of all time. So why don't you join me in that third segment, will you? Still a pass first point guard, still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked on Blazers. Final question of this mailbag episode, special delivery mailbag episode, comes from Mike B., friend of the program, who told me that this isn't his first listen every day, it's his last. He listens to it as he's going to bed. Mike, if you made it this far, thanks for the question. And if you've already, these sweet, dulcet tones of the Locked On Blazers podcast have already sent you off to dreamland, I hope one of your friends tells you that your question made the show. Mike's question is, in light of the Detroit Pistons bringing back their teal jerseys that they wore from 1995 to 2001, what's the ugliest jersey in Trailblazers history? So, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put up some images of these ugly jerseys. If you are not watching on YouTube, if you're listening to the audio medium, I'm going to do my best to describe them, but maybe this is the push you need to check out the last segment on YouTube so you can see the jerseys that I am talking about. So the Pistons brought back these monstrosities. You see there the teal with the black, yellow, and red piping, the giant horse, the 2 little pistons there, white lettering outlined in more teal and black. They're ugly jerseys, but they're ugly in a way that has come back to be cool. That's the thing about these things. My recollection of these, and to be totally clear, 1, I'm wearing a tie-dye t-shirt, so me talking about fashion is really something. And 2, I was a little too young to remember these release, but my recollection of these is that they were not well received. That's my recollection, is that even Grant Hill, who was the star of the Pistons at the time, was like, I don't like these. I don't know if he came out and said that at the time, but I remember him in an interview later on being like, yeah, I didn't really love the teal. I missed the sort of classic red, white, and blue that he started his career in. They made Joe Dumars wear the teal. Come on. Those were ugly. They are ugly, but they're ugly in a way that is like really legitimately cool now. I think one, like those jerseys aren't for the olds. Like if you are a little older than me and you think one that my tie-dye t-shirt's ugly, and two that like those jerseys are a monstrosity, yeah, like sure, you're just a little bit older. They're not for you. They're like Gen Z bait, and legitimately I think they're dope as like someone outside of that age range, but like I think they're cool. But I think they're cool in like a tacky way. I think that kind of thing has come back. Like I think the Toronto Raptors jerseys with the dinosaur were like considered kind of tacky at the time, but now are considered cool. I think the big Atlanta Hawk jerseys, ugly at the time, clowned at the time, are considered cool. Same with the big buck Milwaukee jerseys. Same with the Vancouver Grizzlies jerseys to some extent. Like not exactly lauded at the time, but now as you get further away, there's like this sort of there's a way that nostalgia reminds us of something from the past, and we just think it's pretty. But the actual question from Mike, who's definitely asleep by now, thanks for listening, Mike, is what is the worst Blazer jersey of all time? And I'll say this. The Blazers have had heat, absolute heaters. Like I think the Blazers have arguably the best jersey slate in the league history. They've pretty much never had a bad jersey until Nike took over in the late 21st century and started making garbage. Sorry if you work at the Swoosh. I know there's probably a lot of people in the Portland area who are employed by that large company. But yeah, y'all are making ugly jerseys for every team in the league every year. It's like everyone is dead set on making hideous jerseys. So I think like there was a time when the jerseys were a little like in the early 2000s, kind of like post. Kind of like the end of the Rasheed Wallace Sabonis era, and then on to the next, where the jerseys were just really big, so they didn't sit very flattering, and really big jerseys with capital letters on them. The jerseys don't look great, but since the 77 season, the Blazers have had pretty much a cool, kick-ass slate. So all of the ugliest jerseys are recent, including these plaid ones. I was going to say teal again. These plaid ones that if you're watching on YouTube are up on the screen now. They were supposed to be a nod to Dr. Jack, to Jack Ramsey, but they just didn't go far enough. They didn't really read as plaid. They were just ugly jerseys. They weren't like really hideous, but they were just like good, like they were just like normal ugly jerseys. It was probably the first time that I like looked at a Blazer jersey and said, "Yuck, gross." Those are really bad. Those are from the 2017-2018 season. A runner-up that I'm not going to show in here are the brown jerseys. I think those are actually the worst jerseys for the Blazers that they've ever had, but they were so outrageous. They said Oregon across the chest. They were brown. They had blue and orange and red. They were so outrageous that they're actually good. I kind of feel like they're cool. I'm kicking myself for not buying a Carmelo Brown jersey, just like a true slice of history that I wish I had. The plaid jerseys are bad, but they're bad in a way that's like, yeah, these seem a little bit lazy. But then Nike came out with an even worse jersey that I'm going to put up on the screen now. Here, next to me on my screen is CJ McCollum in this gray-black this from the 2018-19 season. It's gray and black, red lowercase Rip City across it, a single red line slash, gray like split black on the upper chest, gray on the lower with gray shorts and a black waistline on the shorts. These stink. These are just lazy. These are lazy. The other ones were like didn't go far enough, and I thought they weren't aggressive enough. These were the next season, and it was just like, whatever. Kind of had gray jerseys last year. Let's just do it again. These stink. I hate them. Those are probably my least favorite Blazer jerseys of all time. But the ugliest Blazer jerseys there will ever be, they haven't worn yet, but they're coming soon. I don't even know what to do with them. They're so bad. Like, should I even show them on the YouTube channel? Should I subject my dear listeners to looking at something so hideous? Because these are brutal. Yeah, let's do it. This year, the 2022-23 season, the Blazers are going to wear these Portland Airport carpet-themed jerseys. They're black with the teal sash. That's the old carpet from the old Portland airport that is, one, no longer in the airport, and two, no longer a part of the Portland zeitgeist. It's like something just from the past. It's just, these are designed by people who just don't even know. It's like, this was a funny, cool thing that we did in 2015. It's 2022. No one gives a hoot. No one gives a hoot about the carpet anymore. That says PDX across the chest. They're awful. These are awful. These are the worst jerseys the Blazers will ever wear. They're so bad. If you design them at Nike, I'm not coming for you, but I am, because they're whack. They're so whack. The Blazers basically never had bad jerseys. For 40 years, they never had bad jerseys, and now they've done it. So when I look at those Pistons teal jerseys, I say to myself, am I going to like these again? And I know I won't like the plaid because I think they're not plaid enough. And I know I won't like those gray-black ones because I think they're lazy. And I know I will never like these carpet ones because the carpet thing was everywhere in Portland nearly 10 years ago. It's not a thing anymore. It's truly bizarre how outdated that jersey is. What the hell? That's the ugliest that's the ugliest jersey in Blazers history. If you're not watching on YouTube, watch the last segment on YouTube. See all the images that I shared, because it's like they're real. They'll get you as riled up as I am to close the show. Come back later this week. We got more episodes, more fun rolling along. Locked On Blazers every single weekday, wherever you get podcasts. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. I appreciate you listening, and I will talk to you soon.